Good morning, my friends. This is the Grim Flayer. I hope you're doing very well today, and yes, that's right, it is time for the long-awaited channel debut of Valki, God of Lies / Tibalt Cosmic Imposter in Jund, and this is a donation league from a supporter at the very highest tier of support. The supporter is of the Veil. We really appreciate that level of patronage from Vladislav Yurenka. Hope I got your name close to correct, my friend. Big shout out to you. Thank you for your continued very generous support, and thank you also for giving us a really sweet list to play. So, I have not played Valki yet. I'm very excited to do so. I have also not played a league yet. This is my very first league post-Kaldheim, so please bear with me if some things I'm not as familiar with as those of you who've been able to play a lot or able to watch a lot of content. I have not been able to. I've been super busy. Just got time for a few grim gameplay videos in there, which has been a lot of fun, but I haven't necessarily encountered a ton of the new tech that we might face today. We'll see how we fare. Let's talk for a few minutes about our patrons list before we go into a league. So this is not an all-in Valki list. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a couple different ways you could be more all-in on Valki than we are here. Number one would be to play a Cascade pile, where there's a ton of 3-drop Cascade spells, a ton of other value at the 3-drop slot, and you're basically cascading into Valki every single time you hit a Cascade spell, and therefore cascading into Tibalt. For those who don't know, if you're out of the loop completely, even more than I am, and you don't know why this card is on our radar here, I have made an entire video breaking it down. Valki, God of Lies, will he Jund? You can check that out. But if you cascade into this card, you can choose to cast the Tibalt half for free, is basically how it goes. And your Bloodbraid Elf is turning into what, 11 mana worth of value, right? A 4-drop plus a 7-drop. Maybe this Volshok Berserkers isn't worth 4 exactly, but you get the idea. Anyway, so that's one way you could be all in on a Valki as the kind of the build-around card. Another way you could do it is to play a more traditional Jund list like we are, but warp the mana base and potentially the spells a little bit to accommodate the mana base in order to play Witch's Cottage. And Witch's Cottage is a way to get Valki back. If you play him early as the front half, he's an interactive piece, he'll often get answered. You can then buy him back. There are other ways, obviously, in Jund to loot Valki away into the graveyard and subsequently fetch up a Witch's Cottage, put him back on top, get a guaranteed Cascade with a Bloodbraid Elf in hand. The Seasoned Pyromancers that you see here are one way to accomplish that. You could also play other cards like Collective Brutality, Magmatic Channeler if you wanted to go down that road. Liliana, the Veil +1, of course, doing that. But we are not doing that. We are not playing Witch's Cottage. We are playing a very stock Jund list that happens to be playing Valki, God of Lies as a 3 of, competing with cards like Kroxa, Scavenging Ooze, Dark Confidant, and when we cascade into Valki, it'll be great. If we don't, we hope the normal Jund plan is enough to see us through. One thing we can do, is we are on a normal Jund plan, we have plenty of grinding power, the games will often go late. With these 2 copies of Kolaghan's Command, we can buy back Valki out of the graveyard, and then of course hardcasting Tibalt in the late game is definitely live, especially with 3 Wrenn and Six making our land drops virtually infinite under some circumstances anyway. Other than that, like I said, it is basically a normal Jund list. We're not doing anything spicy with the mana base. It's very consistent, very dedicated simply to casting our spells and not doing much else. We just have Peatland and Ravine as the only 2 utility lands, one of each. We are playing snow-covered lands, just in case we need. We have resolved a Tibalt. We have exiled snow cards in some capacity that care about snow permanence, and we want to cast those, make those a little bit better. That's what these snow-covered lands are for. The entire list that you see here with 2 sideboard exceptions was the one given to us by Mr. Yurenka for our play here today. The only things I didn't really feel comfortable with were his 2 copies of Kolaghan in the sideboard. I think our curve is already pretty high. I think Kolaghan is a relatively well-positioned card, but I'm not as interested in it in Jund as I would be in Rock, for example, especially when we're on a Bloodbraid Elf and Valki build. And, our patron did make some good points about how Kolaghan has game against Uro, there is a Rise and Burn, etc., etc. It's well positioned against creature decks, but I argued for a couple of different things. We can bring in Klothys for the anti-burn tech, as well as a big mid-range and control mirror breaker, and Collective Brutality to help control the small creatures, while also being a slam dunk against burn, and having game against spell-based combo control. There's lots of uses for a 1 of Collective Brutality. It will come in a lot. So, those are the only changes I've made. 2 Kalitas out, 1 Brutality, 1 Klothys in their place. Other than that, 2 Plague Man, 2 Ashiok, 2 Wildfire, 2 Boil, 2 Nihil Spellbomb, 2 Collector Ouphe, which I thought was spicy. I do like this. We'll see how many use cases we have for this little guy. And a single copy of Weather the Storm, respecting combo in some cases and burn. When the meta changes, those decks do come out to play. So, let's hope we get some lucky Cascades here, because we're not doing very much to set up our Cascades, and let's otherwise hope the Jund plan is on point. So, thank you once again to Mr. Vladislav Jurenka. Thank you to all Patreon supporters, and thank you for watching. Let's Jund them out with Valki. Let's have some fun. Alright, I'll keep this hand. We've got to get Blood Crypt off of our fetch, so we're going to 15 to Thoughtseize on turn 1. From there, we just need to draw a second land. Blackcleave Cliffs will be the best land under most circumstances here. That's going to turn on our whole hand. Until then, we hope Thoughtseize and Bolt can carry us. And it's definitely a nice keep in the blind, though. Alright, we're against Tron. Right? Hall of the Bandit Lord. Whoa, okay. Stone Coil Serpent, excuse me, and also Chalice of the Void, huh? I think we might actually have to take the Chalice here. I think the clear play for them is an early Chalice. I don't want to have our Lightning Bolt locked in hand for the entire game. Looks like they're playing a lot of smaller creatures that it can interact with, and I'm actually not familiar with exactly what the opponent is up to. We have drawn another Kolaghan's Command, so if we can just find the third land, we should have plenty to do. Okay, LP rolling out that Mind Stone makes a lot of sense. Come on, third land. There it is. Alright, nice. We're definitely shocking in. Our hand is so good I don't really want to play a Lily, so I'm thinking about just firing off a main phase K command, taking care of that Mind Stone before it can ramp and cantrip. It's probably correct. A blind discard effect is pretty good right now, it seems, against them, and also with an eye toward playing Liliana at some point, it seems good, too. Opponent has lost Stone Coil Serpent. Uh-oh, they find Urza's Tower. They find another Mind Stone. They're hanging on to that Walking Ballista. We draw a Thoughtseize. Alright, it might be time for Liliana now. I'm not seeing a great use case for K-Command. I don't want to jam Spyro yet. I think it's going to be Liliana, then we're going to pitch one of our one-drop spells. I'm going to get rid of this Thoughtseize. The hope is that if they can dump out their hand, then Thoughtseize will be bad. If they have cards stuck in their hand, then Liliana can get them out by +1ing, and we won't strictly need to Thoughtseize. I also didn't necessarily expect them to pitch Walking Ballista there. The idea also being that Lightning Bolt can help protect Lily. But, alright, we've got another Lily. That's a relatively free pitch here. Let's start there. Urza's Tower out of the OP's hand. Alright, I think we're just supposed to hold up K-Command here. I don't really want to shock them and make them discard when they have a Mind Stone ready to go. Alright, we could do it now. But that doesn't seem necessarily any better than anything else. So why don't we see if we can get a Shatter plus discard? Or if we Thought-Knot Seer, huh? That is rough. Okay, I'm just going to let this resolve. Hall of the Bandit Lord. Getting us good. I think that's a really heads-up play from the opponent to exile the Spyro there. Alright, I think I kind of want to untap here and hope to draw a land. If we draw a land, we can shock and bolt the Thought-Knot and get a card out of their hand, then tick Lily up and get the other card out of their hand. So let's go untapped land. No, we draw Valki. Interesting. Alright, well we can tick Lily up, pitch Valki, and then buy back Valki, discard the opponent, get them hellbent. It's not bad. It's weird that you have to choose a half to discard, but sure. Alright, Liliana's still doing a lot of work for us, including absorbing a couple attacks here. Alright, yeah, we get Stonecoil, Serpent, Reality Smasher out of their hand. Those are some tough cards to deal with under these circumstances. Alright, good job, Lily. Wish we could have protected you a little bit more, but hey. But hey. Ooh, there's the fourth land. So kind of gotta just play Valki here. Gonna hold the fourth land for now to conceal info. Okay, I'm kind of surprised opponent took that attack, in all honesty. Just walked right into our trade there. But we are max not rewarded. We're not punished is not strictly correct. We are not rewarded whatsoever because it's literally 3 fetch lands off the top for us against Eldrazi Tron in a top deck war. That's insane. Alright. Hopefully it's not going to be one of those leagues. Hall of the Bandit Lord putting in a lot of work for OP over there. It does definitely slow down their curve out, which is probably why it doesn't see much play, but this is a more aggro slanted Eldrazi Tron variant, it seems. I've never quite seen a build like it. Alright, 4 lands straight off the top. We pretty much lose from here. Can't imagine us getting anything else. This is another hasty threat. Okay, whatever, good enough for me. That's really demoralizing, but we'll carry on. Kind of a tough matchup to run into as well. Collector Ouphe, this is a good use case. I have historically liked this card against D-Tron a good amount. Cleansing Wildfire, I will play for sure. Probably Plague Engineer. You could see Klothys being good in games like that. On average, I don't know if we're supposed to play her, but I suppose we could at least put her in the pile with the Plague Man. Now. Let's see. I think all the Valki should probably stay in. I cut at least one Wrenn, though. The bolts are normally a little underwhelming, but against their lower curve, hastier build, and also Stone Coil Serpent, protection from multicolored, you could see like bolts and Inquisitions lining up a little bit more. Alright, what if we side more conservatively? We have one more cut to make, just trim a bolt. I think this seems fine. It's definitely an imperfect hand in a few ways, but it is functional enough to keep on the play. A lot of different draws kind of really turn it on and make it great. You know, like a fetch land lets us keep chugging along with Wrenn. The third land in general lets us curve out. We have some early proactive things to do, specifically lining up because we're on the play, like a Valki on curve is okay. The opponent has mulliganed to 5, that's pretty good. And we have Trophy to break up Tron, so... While like a single fetch land instead of this tomb would be great... And a discard spell would be great, and maybe a premier threat like Tarmogoyf instead of Valki would be great. We are definitely in functional territory. Alright, we draw Spyro. We're once again kind of begging for a land off the top, but let's lead on Valki. We get a Thought Knot. Cool. Now a third land on top also lets us become the Thought Knot Seer, but their entire hand is lands besides whatever they might have just top-decked, and they show us it's the power plant. Really? They show us? Okay. So now we know that they have Tron rolled up. Why would they show us that? Anyway, it's not like we have anything better to do, sadly, so I guess we will just attack for 2, and then draw step, trophy that power plant. They already have one waste in hand. We could get lucky and they've like drawn the second and don't have a third. They have a Spatial Contortion. That's a nice draw for them. Okay, there's the tower. We have Cleansing Wildfire. All right. Let's fire that off on the tower and try to draw, like a fetch land would be good here, so we can hold up Fatal Push. Nope, but we do Stone Rain them, and that's great. We also have another Cleansing Wildfire, so even though we can't draw the third land to save our lives, we are just kind of LDing them out of the game here, hopefully. Let's hit the mine. Hey, Stomping Ground. All right, no point in playing that untapped. Hey, there's the third land. All right, good times. Good times here on the play on the LD plan. Ooh, Chalice on 1. Well, we can beat that at our leisure, I guess, with Kolaghan's command. Playing Collector Ouphe is not very mana efficient because our 1-drops are not even being held up. But I still think that's probably the play here. I'd definitely jam Wrenn if we had a fetch land to buy back and then the Ouphe. But I think this is fine, just gets a bear down and presents another headache for OP. Alright, here's a Thought Knot. They take K command, sure. Another 1-drop. Alright, Spyro time, I guess. We'll split the difference, get rid of one each of Push and Bolt. Now, maybe we can play a defensive game. Is this another Thought Knot they have? Endless one. Got it. Maybe we can play a defensive game and, like, keep making land drops with Wrenn. Eventually hard cast Tibalt. That'd be kind of cool. We're not doing anything else. I think that's kind of got to be our plan here. Unreal how good this Chalice on 1 is right now against us. You know, we could have played the K command rather than the Collector Ouphe, and that would have been an out. Oh no, another Thought Knot, really? Jeez. Okay, down goes Valki. We obviously could have played him last turn. I think it's correct there to wait, though. I'm going to take a single hit from this Endless one. Oh no, it's going at Wrenn, huh? Alright, taking the trade. I think that's reasonable because we have the fail rate of flashing back, making more tokens. But man, our progression's not really doing us any favors here in a couple different ways. Liliana'd be amazing here. Bloodbraid Elf, we'll take it. So there's nothing we can cascade into that makes us want to ping with Wrenn first. I don't even think activating Wrenn first matters. It's a consideration sometimes, but right now it's kind of whatever. Bloodbraid into Liliana. Nice. Very nice. That's even better than what I was asking for. At this point, the Wrenn alts for Cleansing Wildfire is pretty good. That's a pretty good prospect, right? All right. Walking Ballista for 2, that's pretty good for the opponent if they could activate it, but they can't, so they concede. Woo! Maybe they missed that, or maybe they're just showing us that the Ouphe had some power. Either way. Cool. Yeah, nice. A nice win. Even so, it was uncomfortably close because we had 2 Cleansing Wildfires that were both cantripping sinkholes. And we were on the play, and the opponent mulliganed to 5. It was still kind of close. Kind of why I hate this matchup, right? On the draw, I think we're still configured pretty much exactly how we want to be. I kind of like the split, trimming 1 Lightning Bolt, 1 Inquisition. That hedges us away from Chalice a bit, which is confirmed still in post side. It will definitely be an on the play if it was an on the draw post side. And also, those cards just don't always line up, but they line up a little bit more against this opponent's build than I'm used to seeing against E-Tron. Again, the idea of Klothys, because these games are grindy, is somewhat appealing, but I don't think it's better than what we have. Let's run it back. Alright, our hand. I don't know if this does enough. We have to operate off Peatland. We cannot trophy. If the Ouphes are good, it'll be good. I think this is probably supposed to be a mulligan, though. I hate to mull against this deck. There's no discard either. This could beat like a Chalice hand out of the OP, but nah, I think I have to mull. Alright, I'll keep this. It's slow. I wish it was a 7. And I think we're going to try to get lucky and draw a third land. So let's bottom Forest. At this point, we really hope the OP just has a medium hand with Chalice on one as the main attraction, because we don't have any 1-drops, and if they're not doing anything crazy, Liliana can catch us back up, right? We've drawn Trophy. OP's got Eldrazi Temple, so we won't need to Trophy to break up Tron anytime soon. Oh, is this just a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer off double E Temple? No, it's Chalice on 1, thankfully. Okay. We go get Overgrown Tomb here. Valki. Valki's intriguing. I don't know if it's better to play Valki or Collector Ouphe in the blind right here. I think maybe Ouphe. It's going to shut off more early plays, including Walking Ballista that could take care of Valki. But it's definitely a toss-up. They're both just going to die to like a Spatial Contortion or whatever, right? But let's go for the Ouphe. If they had a Thought-Knot, I think they probably would play that rather than the Chalice, but that's not guaranteed, right? It's probably a... Oh, it's a 5/5 Endless one. Alright, untapped land for Lily and we'll be doing okay. Nope, it's an Abrupt Decay. Yikes. That'll be a yikes from me. Okay. I've had some pretty significant land issues, like not hitting them on curve or flooding. Never quite felt balanced in that regard. A 4/4 Endless one. Followed by a Maze Mind Tome. Got it. The Maze Mind Tome is shut off. I don't care about the Chalice yet, so I think I'm supposed to Trophy this attacking Endless one, just for something to do. Let's make sure... Yeah, those are both activated abilities. Got it. Yep, you hate to Trophy a card like that. But... Untapped land, we did it. Alright, now it's Liliana time? Yeah, I think so. We'll start the Ouphe beats. Alright, opponent has their second waste in hand. That makes subsequent trophies and wildfires really good. Opponent is going to tap some lands and then take it back and do nothing. Alright, we have 2 Valkis I'm going to take up and pitch 1. A Walking Ballista was rotting in hand. Nice. I think I'm just passing, holding up K-Command or Decay here. If they didn't do anything last turn, I don't think we're supposed to blindly K-Command whatever is in their hand out of it. Uh-oh. What the heck? A huge Endless one? Kozilek, really? Kozilek, a hard cast Kozilek. When you cast the spell, draw 4 cards, yep. And then another one off Sanctum of Ugin. Great. Wow, cool. That is a nice top deck. Or maybe the missing Eldrazi Temple was the top deck. Either way, that's a nice 2 cards to have on top. In the blind, K-Command discard would have been rewarded, but I do think on average it's incorrect. We worry more about protecting the Lily, answering other permanents, stuff like that. This deck. Alright, I think I'm just gonna K-command the Chalice and force them to discard, just because I don't want to time walk myself. And then obviously we get to Edict Kozilek, but it's just, draw a million cards. What are you going to do? I don't really see how that's viable against much besides us, but... Now we gotta cast a Valki to get another big bomb out of their hand if we can. Well, they have a handful of big bombs, obviously, so the triple Eldrazi Temple lets them really go off here. Probably just supposed to take a Smasher here. We can become one, so that's kind of cool. Let's play a Goyf. Okay, there's the Smasher. Now, if they have another land, they can double spell with Karn. If not, maybe they found something else that they want to do. Could just be this. A Mind Stone. Collector Ouphe doing a ton of work here. We draw a Raging Ravine, huh? It's so rough that Kozilek shuffles the graveyard back in, because why wouldn't it? The Goyf now cannot attack into Reality Smasher, so... I think we're just gotta become a Smasher with our Valki. I've never activated this ability before. Oh, sorry. We need 5 for that. We do need 5 for that. I think I'm going to try to get lucky here and crack a Peatland, even though that's a little unintuitive with our Raging Ravine. Alright, we've got Lightning Bolt. I'm not going to force a trade quite yet. Ooh, I probably missed a line here. Sorry, I'm just extremely tilted by the Kozilek. We could have attacked with Goyf, and then if they blocked, we could have decayed an artifact. And that might not be the very best use of Abrupt Decay in the face of some of their other stuff. But still, maybe we're supposed to put all the pressure on like that. We could also then have maybe shipped in with Valki too and bolted the Smasher, but then we're discarding a card, so probably not. Probably the line was to attack with Goyf. If they block, if they call our bluff, we decay something. You know, at any point we can just flip the game on its head by top-decking Bloodbraid Elf and cascading into Tibalt. It's definitely a thing. Alright. So we're rewarded in a way. We get to bolt the Stonecoil Serpent. That's probably what I'll do. The Prospect of bolting Karn is intriguing too. Either way, we do grow the Goyf. Maybe I'm supposed to bolt Karn. We can't assume that our attacks are going to be good enough to get him off the field. Bloodbraid Elf. Alright, so yeah, let's do that. Let's try to get lucky. Into Spyro. We'll take it. Into 2 lands. We will not take that. Oh boy. And still only a 4/5 Goyf. I was thinking, I don't know, I don't remember what I said. Maybe I misspoke. I was thinking that we'll still grow the Goyf if we untap and decay. Something which was the plan before we drew a Bloodbraid Elf. OP just going for the GQ straight up. And OP's totally empty-handed, and we draw a Spyro off the top. Seems good. Gonna do that rather than make a Reality Smasher out of my Valki. And once again, we hit 2 more lands off of him. And once again, we don't have great attacks, so I think we just hang. Total top deck war now. We can now hardcast a Tibalt if we top deck a Valki, which we do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh boy, here we go. All right. Guess we just exile this Smasher, huh? And we can play that in the future, which is cool. Let's send a big attack in here. Opponent's got 1 turn to top deck a bomb. Don't want to give them more than 1, right? Expedition map? I guess that's not going to do it. Just let Tibalt go, kill the OP on the crackback, including with our Reality Smasher from exile. All right, that was a painful one. I definitely had a few lines that I think were okay. I probably made at least 1 misplay. Other borderline decisions right now where I said I feel pretty good about, actually, but we did get punished at a few turns. We did out-top deck the opponent, though. We had some weird top decks of, like, a Flood into a Bloodbraid Elf into a Spyro, which is great, into 2 lands, which is terrible. And then another Spyro, which is great, into 2 lands, which is terrible. And then we just ask for Valki off the top, and we get it. So, hey, I'm happy with the win. I hate playing against Eldrazi Tron. I thought we were done for when the Kozilek showed up. And I'm also happy that Valki got a lot of action. The front half was relevant. The back half was game-winning in the late game. That's exactly what we hope from a card like this. Didn't even get to cheat it out with Cascade, and it was eminently reasonable. So, there we go. A ugly round 1 win, which we'll take all day, every day. See you for round 2. This hand is a Keep in the Blind. It looks a lot like the other hands that we've seen. This is a very common refrain with our opening hands, where we have good 1 mana interaction in 2 lands, and then some 3 drops. So there is a gap between the success rate of the hand and the fail rate of the hand, there is not a floor of having the third land baked into the cake. And we're also seeing a lot of trophy in the opening hands, which sometimes can be good, and sometimes you wish it was other forms of interaction, right? All depends on the matchup, but trophy was good there against E-Tron. How good was Collector Ouphe, man? I love Collector Ouphe. I love the use cases for the Ouphe when artifacts are enough in the meta that it's okay to register him, and, you know, sometimes you have weird sideboarding considerations. Bring him in as a one-of, like against a Stoneforge Mystic deck or something, depending on your setup. It's definitely just a cool card. We got a fan of the channel on the other side of the virtual table here. If I could type, that would be advisable. Shout out to NJGB1. Big shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for your kind words. It is lovely to hear such things. And let's see what you're playing. Inquisition. Oh, yeah, this is probably... I guess we're trying to cascade into Valki here, so I guess we have to take Demonic Dread, but then we're leaving the opponent with a bunch of X for ones. Yep, this is probably pretty unwinnable for us, but we'll take that. I have not actually played against that deck, so I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that it's the one I mentioned in the deck tech, where it's a bunch of value piles at the 3-drop slot, and the only thing you're normally cascading into is Valki. So, Tarmogoyf is a good draw, because we gotta pressure this opponent somehow. This seems like a virtually unwinnable matchup for us, though I do hate to say. NJGB1, wow, your name is hard to say. If you do see this video, please let me know how this deck has felt for you against the more linear stuff, because, of course, from the outside looking in, a couple people on my Discord have mentioned this. It's like, yeah, you've got the solid Tibalt plan and a ton of value on top of that against other fair decks, but where does the policing of linear decks tend to happen, right? That would be my only question, but there is usually an answer for that I don't know, or maybe there will be over time. In any case, opponent might be going for a Simian guide here. No, it's just a hard cast Valki. Got it. Taking away our Spyro, so you get to have 2 Spyros and I don't get any? How does that make any sense? Whoa. Come on, talk about greed. Hey, we've got a Valki too. Should we play our Valki or should we kill theirs? Kinda just wish we had a 3rd land for Liliana, in all honesty. Killing their Valki grows the Goyf significantly. And they have double Spyro in hand anyway, plus a Bone Crusher, plus our Valki dies to their Stomp, so I think I'm just going to kill this Valki. Give me that Spyro back. No 3rd land, though, is definitely rough. Alright, we gotta have hope here that Goyf can just beat down the door, can force the opponent into making some relatively underwhelming plays, and obviously we have to fade that another Cascade spell. If the opponent does, like, nothing here, never mind, they do something. They have a land. They're doing at least something because they shock it in. There's no reason they would do nothing, right? Yeah, the floor of their turn is just Spyro, try to find more action and delay the game. They could ditch Simian Guide here pretty freely, I imagine they do, and the Bone Crusher, so they have another Spyro in hand. I am now inclined to play Valki of my own, but we'll see what happens here. We have Wrenn and Six, huh? So we can't do anything about a Cascade spell. They're just gonna, like, if they have one, they're just gonna get to use it. So let's attack with Goyf. See what the OP does as far as blocking is concerned. Alright, they chump with one elemental. Honestly, playing a Wrenn and pinging another elemental is okay. Alternatively, we can play Valki and try to take that Spyro out of their hand and hope they don't have another Cascade spell. I think we're supposed to play Valki. We know he's going to hit something. They have 2 Spyros and a K command. Oh my goodness, yeah. Seems just like an impossible matchup, because they're just with these value exchanges, the opponent is favored. And then, like, if they just find a Cascade spell, they just basically win. So, Goyf Pressure, fading the discard spell, remains our only hope. Opponent, I guess, deciding between K-Command and another Spyro. The Spyro, as always, is digging them toward more Demonic Dreads or whatever else it might be. And the K-Command's just got some really obvious good lines, and that's one of them. Okay. K-Command it is. So let's see what we can do here. We draw another a K command of our own, but it is uncastable. I think I'm supposed to play Wrenn and Ping here. The only thing our deck is doing better than theirs is racing. So let's just try to keep that pressure up. Sucks to kind of pass up the chance to guarantee our 3rd land drop, but it seems like that's not feasible for us, you know what I mean? We need things to go our way. We can't spend a turn just, like, playing a Planeswalker to buy back a land and do nothing else. So they have 2 Spyros in hand now. Yeah, and okay, there's the Demonic Dread. So there's the Valki. There's the Tibalt. I will happily scoop to that. We're already behind. That's just... We're just not going to get there against Tibalt. Okay. Yeah, matchup seems real hard. We'll say GG to our opponent because it's a nice person and a fan of the channel, but I don't know what the heck we're supposed to do in the matchup like this. Jund doesn't have great hate for this style of deck. I'm going to play Collective Brutality. It's going to kill their hardcast Valkis. It's going to kill some lower curve stuff like Spyro. It's going to take Demonic Dreads out of their hand. Maybe some other important spells too. And I don't know what their deck will look like post-side exactly, but with respect to being able to outgrind the mid-range half of their plan, I think Klothys is good despite their kind of I win button. They, at least Valki can, or Tibalt, rather, cannot deal with Klothys. So that's cool. I'm probably also going to play an Ashiok for that free win potential, especially on the play. Against normal Jund decks, I want Nihil Spellbomb. I don't know if I want them here. With all due respect to the hardcast Valkis, I think I'm going to cut Fatal Push and maybe not Abrupt Decay, actually. Gotta race as hard as we can. I think I'm going to go without the spell bombs, and we do have some grave hate anyway, if that matters, with Klothys and Ashiok. And then probably just cut a Wrenn. Wrenn's a good grinding tool, but We need to go that little bit faster in this particular matchup, as far as I can tell. I think we're supposed to leave in all 4 lilies to just keep them off of value and combo to the extent that we can. Ditto all the discard spells, right? Again, not your normal anti-Jund protocols, even though they are technically a Jund deck. We're doing some very different things here. Well, this hand's going to rip their hand to shreds. I guess this is kind of what we signed up for. We'll keep it, but we don't have any pressure. And that's a little scary, because they're going to win a top deck war. But this is not a handy throwback. We just hope to draw like a Goyf or a Lily at the appropriate turns to play them on curve, one or the other, and I'll be fairly happy. They have Valki and Violent Outburst. And 2 Bloodbraid Elves. I didn't see that at first. Oh my goodness. Oh, God, this matchup. I'll just take the Valki, I guess, even though I don't care that much about Valki. Yeah, let's take the Outburst for now, actually. My first instinct was that Brutality can hit the Outburst, but it cannot hit Valki. But we have 2 different ways to kill Valki. And I think very few things punish us for this, but if we draw like a high curve creature right now, that could. We don't. We draw another land, so Thoughtseize you. Take a Bloodbraid Elf. Reveals their hand to Thoughtseize containing Verdant Catacombs, Verdant Catacombs, Verdant Catacombs. Got it. Will OP play a Valki? Probably. Yes. Alright, so Valki just a 2-1, do nothing here. Our hand also kind of a big do nothing. Need to draw like another answer to that Bloodbraid Elf. Another Thoughtseize would be good. Obviously pretty unlikely. And I think I'm supposed to blind escalate with the Brutality now that we've drawn yet another land. And I'd rather check their hand than do the life gain thing, even though there's only 1 unknown in there. Kill your Valki. See if we can snag a Demonic Dread or whatever else. Violent Outburst would be the big scary one. This all feels just so unwinnable, though. There's a Blood Moon. Okay. You know, I actually almost mentioned that, but I didn't, because I was like, nah, they're not going to play that. They are. Thankfully, we've got a Verdant Catacombs to go get a forest with, and then we've got this basic swamp in hand. So we're mostly functional. Maybe only Lily is uncastable here. And she is nowhere in sight. Alright, time for a little luck. Let's rip a Bloodbraid Elf off the top and let's Valki the opponent out. We draw Ashiok. That's really bad after they've done all this fetching and there's a Blood Moon down. So... yikes. Also uncastable, by the way. Let's also remember that. So, we're just holding up Kolaghan's command. Hope he's going to Bloodbraid Elf us. We get to shock it, and we get to hope that they, break with a Cascade into, maybe another Blood Moon? No, Spyro. Yep. I don't know if we're supposed to shock with the K command. I might, just because we know they're going to have fresh cards in hand. Maybe we get some gas out of there. Oh, wait a minute. What happened there? They choose not to cast. I don't know if I get it. Was that a misclick or did I miss something? In any case, as I was saying, I think we are supposed to shock here simply because at this point we have to hope we get lucky. Right? So we're going to take all the lines available to us and hope that our top deck provides. Nope. 'Tis another land. Just another land. I guess opponent's hand was probably too good. Yeah, another Bloodbraid Elf, that's why they didn't cast. But they're cascading into some stuff here, some bricks relatively. But this is still going to be good enough to beat us because we're so non-functional. Unless we rip another Bloodbraid of our own. Tarmogoyf, okay. It's something. Demonic Dread. Into Tibalt. Alright. Not putting myself through this one. GG's well played, not that we can beat it anyway. Yeah, pretty unwinnable matchup. Modern's a bit of a mess right now. This is why I'm, a little bit all over the place. But all the respect in the world to our opponent. Shout out to you once again. Thanks for the kind words. And yeah, you guys in the comments, including you, and wow, why can't I say this? Why is this a tongue twister? NJGB1. If you see this video, my friend, yeah, let me know how this does for you. It seems like you completely destroy mid-range and probably control decks, slower, fair creature-based decks, like, maybe taxes or something, if they don't have sufficient hate for you. Let me know how it does against the linear stuff. It does seem like you have some plans, though. Simeon Guide out an early Blood Moon, for example, could definitely catch out some linear decks. Either way, feeling max punished for running a quote-unquote normal Jund Valki list and coming to the all-in-one, which definitely has a significant edge here. But so it goes. See you for round 3. Alright, on the play, which makes this hand keepable. Just. We're against a Lurrus deck, so it's the classic conundrum of it kind of sucks to keep a low-ish spell count because they're going to Thoughtseize us at least once, but at the same time, mulling is worse, so we do keep a functional hand that does nothing into Goyf into Lily. But it is double Lily, that's acceptable. That's a very high ceiling of the hand. An opponent admittedly will take a mulligan, so maybe the... and maybe it's not even the Rakdos deck I usually assume it is. It could be anything, right? But maybe the opponent's curve out won't be perfect, and the card quality we've got going on here is going to be enough. Shelldock Isle, yeah, I would say that's probably not Rakdos. Fascinating. This is probably Mill. We're just going to rip the Band-Aid off and fetch now, because, yep, we have 4 fetch lands in hand. There's no getting around it. It sure is Mill. OP will archive trap us. In response. Hopefully only once. Well, the Goyf's going to be nice and big. We got a Spyro. And then they get a card under the Shelldock with Hideaway. Let's fetch again while the fetching is good, while the coast is clear. And then from there we will likely... Well, the fact that it's a forest, we're maybe not quite able to. And because they milled our Blood Crypt. If they didn't mill our Blood Crypt, that's what I would fetch, because that would let us Lily and Spyro, even though we don't have the latter, off of the forest as well. Now we just kind of have to get double black, and we won't have double red unless we want to risk a fetch after they've drawn again at some other point, which is definitely fine. So, Tomb, 5/6 Tarmogoyf is pretty good on the play, on curve, and pass to you. Alright, OP with a swamp, and say and go. Us with another land, but admittedly it's a decent one in the form of Raging Ravine. I guess let's attack with Goyf first. They could be sitting on like a Drown in the Loch or something. We don't want to give them full info. Oh, who called it? Who called it? So now we get to resolve our Lily. I don't know if that's on average better or worse than having a Goyf, but again, we give them less info this way. And I will pitch the 4th fetch land. Happy to never fetch again for the rest of this game unless things get weird. And hopefully Lily can put in a ton of work. We'll have Raging Ravine plus Seasoned Pyromancer flashback for pressure eventually, and maybe the opponent's a little choked out on lands. Indeed they are. But they do have a Mesmeric Orb, and the orb protects itself by milling a Kolaghan's Command. Darn. Darn it all. Alright. We draw another land, which is absurdly bad. Again, at least it's a utility land, but should we be getting the Ravine down? Probably. I'm actually going to pitch the Lily. I don't think they're going to have a way main deck to answer her. I don't think it's realistic as well to keep a second one around after a bunch of tick-ups for after this first one ults, right? So let's just keep all of our resources flush, basically. That's our plan here. Opponent mills over, Polluted Delta Surgical Extraction. Oof, they get a Field of Ruin. Alright, there goes our Ravine. That does kind of punish us for that play. A little bit. Maddening Cacophony. Okay, we're under pressure, but we do draw a Goyf. Nice. Let's get that last card out of their hand before we play it. We'll pitch our Forest. Cracking Peatland right now does nothing, so I'm not going to. Alright, opponent will field our Ravine, sure. Hopefully that doesn't mean they've drawn another Archive Trap. That would be disgusting. They sure have. Unbelievable stuff, guys. Unreal stuff. Alright. Okay. I realize that we go down a card and we only have 7 by cracking Peatland, but I think we have to. We're not really rewarded with an Inquisition, but bad card out of the way, I guess. Lightning Bolts. Okay, so we kind of have to put the Mesmeric Orb on its own. It's just going to kill us. We have to maybe hope the Hideaway card isn't bad, but the Hideaway land is also just probably, whatever's under there is probably just going to kill us. If it doesn't kill us, it's going to be able to answer our Goyf, basically, right? So I don't think we really have any outs because they ripped Archive Trap immediately off the top. If they hadn't, it would be more interesting. I guess one of our outs would be to... Nah, let's just do it like this. If they keep the 3 lands, they can, maybe they just have us with Hideaway. They could also put Lurrus into hand that way. They have more options. Keeping the Orb is riskier because we're a Jund deck. We could have an answer to it, but we probably would split the piles differently if we did. We do manage to kind of spook them into the 3 lands, or I don't know if spook them's the right answer, because they probably just have lethal again with Hideaway, but sure. Maybe opponent also clicked the wrong pile. That's always an option. People do that a lot. There's no need to bolt right now because there are instants in the yards, and bolting like a crab, if that's what they top deck and their Shelldock Isle card doesn't matter, then is better, but they're just going to kill us with like a glimpse or something. With another archive trap. Yo, this card wrecking us. Okay. That was super unlucky, I think. Often the top deck of an archive trap is pretty bad. We played around them as best as we could with our hand that had all 4 fetch lands as the only lands in it to start. And then they found a Field of Ruin, which not only took care of our Raging Ravine and stopped us probably from closing out the game, that also made a top-decked archive trap live, where it otherwise would have just been rotting in hand. So that is a little rough. Boil is a card. I don't know how good of a card it is, but it is a card. Ashiok, ditto. Collective Brutality, probably our best card here. Some combination of Boil, Ashiok, and Spellbomb can be in. I don't really think we need all of those effects at all. But I think with a matchup like this, I want to kind of trim some of the slow, grindy stuff. I think I'm going to cut like 1 Spyro, 2 Wrenn. Maybe even cut a Valki. I think cutting a Valki is... Sorry, hit my mic, is probably correct. It has use cases. We've got the luck case of Bloodbraid into Tibalt, but ultimately it's a little underwhelming and fragile as a clock. At the same time, maybe like edging away from a single fatal push. You do have to kill the crabs, though. But like we have bolts, we have decay, we have brutality. It's all about getting the ratios of everything correct. This would give us 4 slots. I think I'm pretty happy playing 1 each, frankly, of Ashiok, Spellbomb, and Boil. Maybe we'll just play... I don't even know if 2 Boils is correct. Boil might not even be that good. Let's just put our Valki back in. It's just a bear to beat down, if nothing else. I think this is about right. And Boil's not going to be a huge blowout, but even if it hits a land or 2, that can really cripple Mill, especially on the play. I think it's worth doing. The hand doesn't make green. If it did, it'd be a snap keep. I think we're probably still supposed to keep it, because if we draw a 3rd land and it's green, we are doing everything we want to do. Hard to pass up the functional-ish hand with turn 1 discard, right? But it definitely has a fail rate. Wow, opponent on the double crab hand. That's actually not something we're especially prepared for. I am going to take one of them. The one that survives K command is the one I take. So we just want to draw any untapped green land now. Then we get to go Goyf into K command. And the opponent has some answers with Drown in the Loch, but still that's going to be a good progression. Come on, land. Nope, but we get a lightning bolt. I'll honestly take it. So will opponent hold up Drown in the Loch here? Or just cast a Maddening Cacophony? It's probably better to cast it, because the only way Drown beats a 3-drop on the stack is if we fetch first. Yes, I think that's the right play from the opponent. Alright, still really want that 3rd land. Obviously, we'll just draw an uncastable 4-drop instead. Frustrating league. Field of Ruin from the opponent, making our Mana, technically even worse, but in actuality just kind of turning it on. And maybe they're one unknown again is another archive trap. That's probably the case, right? But for now, at least we get to go get green. Nope. Are there archive traps and Fields of Ruin like glued together so they always come off the top one after the other? Seems like it. Anyway, we draw another uncastable, just like never hitting the third land. It's great. 6/7 Goyf. Gonna get drowned in the lock. But not before our opponent finds a crab and a fetch land. I see. Yeah, we can still win this if we draw an untapped red land. K-command the crab. And the last land out of their hand, I guess, is what we'd do. Or maybe buy back a threat. Alright, there's the land. I'm assuming we have a red land effect. If not, I'm just going to concede. We do. We got it. Nice. And it's even a Blood Crypt, so double black is online. That's cool. So there's that. Getting the 5th land out of their hand is something, but I think I'm supposed to buy back a threat here. Just gotta be one of the Goyfs, because we already have enough Bloodbraids in hand and they're uncastable for now. So yeah, giving the opponent the 5th land is not necessarily ideal, because it lets them hardcast archive traps, but we're playing for them to not have the nuts, right? Opponent will put Lurrus into hand and not play the Watery Grave, I guess protecting Lurrus and whatever else from Liliana. Bloodstained Mire. Yeah, I think we're supposed to cast a Bloodbraid Elf here, rather than a Goyf and hold up Trophy. There's no mountain to get, so let's fix our mana with a Stomping Ground here. And let's hope for a nice Bloodbraid Cascade. Into Spyro? Yeah, I'll take it. We want to hold on to this K-command, so let's pick Trophy and Goyf, I guess. K-command beats Lurrus, and also whatever Lurrus can buy back as well. And we can even pick that Goyf back up if we are so inclined. The draw of Blackcleave Cliffs is a little annoying because we're not able to go K-command plus Goyf this upcoming turn unless we draw another land. An opponent's going to get some good value here. Lurrus buying back a crab, playing a land from hand. That's the other reason they would hold the land in hand, right? But it's a different land. They have a Flooded Strand. That's scary. Scary, scary stuff. They go get Basic Island, probably just because they might not have another shock land to get, but maybe that's not true. Anyway, it's Abrupt Decay, huh? It's Abrupt Decay. Same story with Goyf. It'd be great if we could. Sadly, we cannot. Obviously got to kill Lurrus here. I'm just going to discard the opponent out as well. This one's going to be close. We're dead to a mill spell very badly, though. Opponent making the correct block. But we could still have them dead if we don't die right now. Is this another hardcast archive trap? It obviously is. Alright. Unbelievable stuff, guys. But there you go. Yeah, GG. Well played. GG. Alright. this is going to sound weird, but I think this is maybe my first time ever losing to Mill in a league, and I'm not kidding. I think I'm probably like 15-0 against it. It was always, you know how people have boogeyman decks? I have boogeyman decks myself, where it seems like no matter what you do, even if your matchup is favored, they always seem to get you. I was the boogeyman for Mill until right now. That was rough. You guys saw what happened. Some really good progressions, frankly, from the opponent. Our Valki plan is not the best here. Then again, the things that are competing with Valki that would otherwise see play in Jund, maybe not the best either, but Kroxa is the big miss. Kroxa is such a slam dunk against Mill, it's unbelievable. The attrition when cast from hand matters. Obviously, a lot of the time they'll mill him for you, and that's a free ETB, Lava Spike you, discard you, 6/6, repeated triggers, something like that. So that allows you to play a really depletion-oriented game and have like a free, overpowered finisher that they provide for you. Without Kroxa, the matchup gets worse. I still think it's fine. We didn't get there. Oh well. Hope you guys are still having fun, and we'll see you for the next round. At least we're winning the die rolls this league. We can't say that we're winning much else, but we are winning the die rolls, and we've got a... Thoughtseize into Valki into Liliana. Not exactly Thoughtseize into Goyf into Lily, but maybe this is the new Jund norm, right? Anyway, you guys remember what I said in the Is There a Future for BGX video? I'm feeling that way with this league, and it's only a little bit of... It's a very small sample size, but, a new fire-style card that can see play in Jund, that's Valki. But there is, like, always a better shell for it, and the auto loss in round 2, which set us up for the opponent that beat us in round 3, was an exemplar of that, right? Now, whether that round 2 deck has permanent staying power, probably not, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. But anyway, I hope you understand my point there, and we are against some kind of pile with Growth Spiral, Monolith, Path to Exile. The only good news for us is that they mulligan to 5. I'm going to take the Mana Leak here and try to win with Liliana. Valki is just going to be a bear here, but I'm probably supposed to play him out anyway if we don't draw something better. And yeah, we just got to hope Lily is going to carry this game. I really could use a free win here against this matchup. It's like the last thing I want to do is play against one of these Bant piles, but if this mull from OP gives us a free win game 1, maybe we can cheese another game post-side, and that'll be good. We draw Wrenn and Six. That's a nice draw. That's a really nice draw. Let's go. Hopefully opponent did not find a Spell Snare, right? That is a much better play than Valki, you have to say. Much better play than almost any creature, for that matter. Kroxa, once again, would be good there. Bob would force the path out. But we like the Wrenn. We like the Wrenn quite a bit. Okay, OP gets a Triome, Island, Mountain Plains, Forest, 4-color pile confirmed. Another Lily seems good here. Our life total is quite low already. I think even though they're a Path to Exile deck, I'll fetch one basic, have the other one in hand. And then still have 2 left in the deck. Alright, so We could see OP Growth Spiral in response, digging for like a Force of Negation. Oh, they just draw a Mana Leak? That's rough. Okay, at least we do have another one, but that's definitely rough. That said, the Wrenn ult is very much looking like it's on the table here. Alright, OP gonna grow Spiral now. The fact that they didn't in response is maybe an indicator that they don't have any other blue cards in hand. Because again, the Growth Spiral in response digging for Force of Negation is at least a possible line that they'd likely take if they had another blue card in hand, but if they don't, there's not necessarily any point. Goes without saying that our draws of a bunch of lands off the top are not very good. We've had some relatively poor top decks in a lot of cases. Our early progression has been good, and then we just haven't been able to ruthlessly close out. In other cases, oh, there's Uro. In other cases, it's kind of been the opposite, where we've stumbled early and then kind of caught up late, but the opponent's done a little bit better than us late. Yep, there's Uro, who, despite everything that's going so well for us, can definitely just still win it from here. Alright, my friends, we are shifting gears momentarily to replay for the little patch of this league that I lost. I don't know if you noticed or this is right around where we left off, right? And where we had left off. My client was starting to lag pretty bad, and then I lost connection altogether. As is the norm when I do lose connection, I kind of like reset everything, including closing my recording software because my computer's old, and you know, doing too many things at once is not good for it either. And I was able to come back into recording after this match, but for the closeout of this match, we have to make up for what I lost with the recording in this replay. Now, the opponent also disconnected too, so I don't know if it was a Magic Online issue or what, but I have such bad connectivity issues this time of year where I am. It was most likely just me, and a coincidence that OP also proceeded to disconnect. In any case, I think this is about where we were. Opponent is escaping Uro. We are going to trophy at the earliest possible opportunity before they have a chance to draw Force of Negation, for example. Do we have any hand info? I think maybe we know about Path to Exile. In any case, this has happened like every league I've tried to play. There's always something, there's always some technical hiccup. Honestly, it's part of what led me to reimagining the structure of the content. But in any case, we're here to make it up to you with the replay here. And I am able to ult the Wrenn, so let's slow down a little bit here. So we ult the Wrenn. We have 5 lands to work with at least. We had 2 lands in hand to retrace. There is kind of a strategic tension between making land drops and getting ready to hard cast a Tibalt, or using those land drops, turning them into spells. Definitely kind of have to pick our lane and stick with it, so to that end, we do open on a Thoughtseize. We see the opponent did have that path, and a Wrenn, and a Teferi, so a pretty stacked hand. The Wrenn is the enemy number 1, but we do decide to just go full depletion mode, empty out the hand. To that end, we are pitching Valki to Liliana, partially because we have committed more to using the lands as spells rather than as land drops trying to play a big haymaker. and partially because we can just pick Valki back up if we're going to totally empty out the opponent's hand on the depletion plan, which we do. And, there's... Let the record state, right, from this point on, from henceforth, there are a few different lines you could take every single turn. That is just the nature of the Wrenn and Six emblem, right? That's just how it is. We do end up giving opponent exactly enough cards to escape Uro, but that's actually okay, because I'm almost torn between wanting to tick up with Lily, tick down with Lily. This way we can either Edict the Uro, keep going, or we can ult the Uro depending on what we draw. So I'm kind of okay with them walking into that. It's good value for them too. They're happy to do it. We're going to kind of see what we draw and then make a decision. But we draw another Liliana, making it a pretty easy choice to just ult with this one and then commit to deploying a second one. And I do give the opponent 2 relatively bad lands plus the Uro, thinking they might keep that. They probably take the wiser choice. They probably see us for what we are, right? And they go ahead and keep 3 multi-lands. Uro, after all, is Uro. He is very fiery, so we do have the escape ready, waiting in the wings. Once again, we choose to value the random spell over the Valki. We're holding up Assassin's Trophy right now, and we are back on the Liliana attrition plan. Ultimately, at the end of that sequence, our play is relatively rewarded. Getting a land out of their hands really good, especially Field of Ruin might as well be a utility land, right? So, in any case, opponent has another Uro from hand. You do hate to see that. So, this is where I'm thinking, despite the turn 2 unanswered Wrenn that turned into an emblem, and a lot of other really decent things we could very well lose. We draw Lightning Bolt, and then I decide to just keep kind of on my current plan. The Bolt not accomplishing very much when the opponent's at 30 life anyway, so we just pitch it, hang on to our land, and we get that path at long last out of their hand, and then they escape yet again Uro for, what is this, the 4th time already this game? Really hard to say. A lot of normal Jund progressions are just totally getting got by this, but not ours because we have a Wrenn and Six emblem. On the end step, we K-command another path out of their hand, right? So yeah, we've beaten 3 paths to exile, and we buy back Valki yet again, just again giving us the most different options in terms of how to proceed. And another land is just fine with us because it represents whatever we want it to. K-command, Assassin's Trophy being the 2 primo targets. Opponent making land drops, never the worst thing in the world with a deck like this, especially when they're fetch lands. And we draw Seasoned Pyromancer, so this, I guess, is our cue to get the hand empty. We have had to kind of pivot tactically here and there, If we had maybe committed to hard casting Tibalt, the game would be over by now, just saying. But again, with the Wrenn and Six emblem on the field, you can kind of take a wide variety of paths. Almost any of them are justified, and I think ultimately I've been taking the highest floor plays, realizing that we're very far ahead with that emblem and some other things going on. So the Spyro yields a land and a Bloodbraid Elf. We decide to go for the draw step. Once again, buying back Valki, picking up Valki for the millionth time this game. Kind of funny. And going for the draw step discard, we're punished because OP drew a Lightning Bolt. So they get to just tag Lily in response. And they also could have gone to our face. We are at 7, worth noting that. And we draw Inquisition, a bit of a brick, so hey. Oh well, we've got Bloodbraid Elf, right? We're not going to brick again. We do, Inquisition. I'll cast it just to get it out of the deck, fill up the graveyard, all the rest, but a couple bricks. You hate to see it. We have almost no bricks left in the deck, but we did hit 2 right there, back to back, so let's try to hit play again, and we are going to go here on the attack, starting to get the opponent down from that lofty height of 31, and they draw Field of the Dead, which is a bit scary, right? It's definitely a bit scary, but not as scary as Tibalt Cosmic Imposter. We draw our 7th land, and this time, my friends, I'm going to use it as a land drop, because Tibalt is pretty OP. So Tibalt will tick up. That is the play here. We are... for those who haven't really read the card yet, we now have 2 Planeswalker emblems. One of them is Tibalt's, which is an as enters the battlefield one. You may play cards exiled with Tibalt, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. So we now have a Spyro and a Cryptic command at our beck and call, beginning the next turn. We tick up with Liliana as well, just giving the opponent the most possible problems. as many headaches as possible. They get to turn these land drops into gas in several different ways. Number one, cracking these fetches, make zombies with Field of the Dead. Number two, Mystic Sanctuary is going to put a lightning bolt back on the top, giving them the best chance at taking care of planeswalkers. And number three, of course, they fill up the graveyard for the Uro, which is willing and ready to be escaped yet again. The zombies are going after our life total. Note that if we hadn't blocked, we'd be dead to the lightning bolt, but we do take both trades, and the bolt will then finish off Liliana. Fortunately, Tibalt's unchecked. So, once again, we tick up. We have now a Tarmogoyf and a Force of Negation at our disposal. Seems pretty good. Abrupt Decay is in hand. Abrupt Decay is also not a bad one, but we decide to lead off on Spyro, turn that Decay into an elemental token, and see what else we can find, which is a land and another land. But hey, even those lands are not bad, right? So because we have so many cards in exile, I decide to make one land drop, hold the other one in hand for a trace. Again, million different ways you can sequence here, no point in really tanking over them. On top of everything else, we can also ult with Tibalt, which note is going to clean out both graveyards. It's then going to ramp us, adding 3 red, which can be used as any color, and then we'll be able to cast any of these cards from exile, so it is a real game-winning ultimate, especially in the context of this. Opponent thinks about paying cost. I think they considered a couple different lines and then just said, what, we're going to play something into our own cryptic command, then get ulted by Tibalt? Yeah, probably just scoop, and that's indeed what happens. So, yeah, this is where I started losing connectivity, like I said. The opponent also lost connectivity. I don't remember if it was here or if it was in the second game, or both. Again, I don't know if it was something going on MTGO, but I just got back on here as quickly as possible because I knew if I could actually play the game, if I wasn't getting DC'd, that we had very, very strong paths to victory. So it was really interesting how we ended up getting there in the end. The Wrenn and Six obviously soloing the game in a few different ways, provided we have enough other value pile pieces to go along with it, and we did. And we could have gone, again, many different ways with that, but what we ended up doing is playing a depletion game, looping K-Command a lot, picking our own Valki back up after +1ing a bunch with Liliana, and eventually we did that enough times that we were able to interact with the opponent at opportune times, and end up with a Valki in hand after putting it down, picking it back up several times, making a land drop GG. Alright, it is game 2 against the Piles. We are ahead in the match and ahead on the clock, a great place to be. 8 cards in, 8 cards out. In terms of what comes in, they are all slam dunks. We have 2 Nihil Spellbomb, 2 Ashiok Dreamrender, 2 Boil, and 1 each of Klothys, God of Destiny, and Collective Brutality. You wouldn't maybe want to play too many Brutality effects, but I think 1 is very good. In terms of what comes out, I think we definitely want to side out 8 cards for all of those 8, and you could go a few different ways, but I think given our particular build, one way that you could go that we didn't is side out Tarmogoyf, and we do have a lot of ways to win without Goyf. One very valid plan is to side out 4 Tarmogoyf and then 4 of your very worst spells, and maybe trimming around the edges with Goyf is fine too, but to me it's more of an all-or-nothing proposition, generally. I ended up not doing that. We ended up keeping the Goyf in. 2 push, 3 bolt are relatively easy cuts. They have use cases, but they're not that necessary. These cuts were a little harder to make. Kolaghan's command was amazing and in the last game and has been amazing in the league generally, and there's a lot of good use cases for it, but ultimately it's kind of like Collective Brutality. But it has 2-for-1 potential instead of just 1-for-1 or tempo positive 2-for-2s, 3-for-3s, right? Kolaghan's command, definitely a little stronger than Brutality, but also does not interact as meaningfully most of the time. It seems like a good way to slam the door if you're already ahead, or if at least some things are going your way, but it cannot really catch you back up. It's a catch-up card in a lot of matchups, not really this one. So to that end, I did cut both, didn't feel great about it. Also cut the Decay, even though it hits Uro, Teferi, maybe even zombies, maybe some other things. Maybe an alternative line is to take trophies out, but I thought trophy, taking care of the big stuff, they might play Jace, Big Tef, whatever, being able to be pointed at Field of the Dead, and just being broadly a catch-all. So that's my sideboarding spiel. We have a 1-lander. Honestly, a slightly tempting keep just because we got 2 looks at a second land if it's a fetch land. In the Wrenn Sticks, we have the Inquisition to clear the way. But ultimately, the fail rate's too high. It's got a pretty high curve. It is a 1-lander. We send it back. And this is a decent, but ultimately relatively unexciting 7. And I did say this is all-in. This is an all-in Liliana hand. With a lot of hands that are similar, I would say let's bottom a land and hope to draw the 3rd one. In this case, I thought let's just make sure we resolve a Liliana. Remember, part of our goal here in this second game is just simply to extend the game. We don't want to get stuck on 2 lands and have the opponent kill us quickly. We got to eat up their clock, even if we can't win this one. That's still an objective here. So to that end, we bottom a piece of gas to ensure the 3rd land. OP goes Steam Vents into Forest into Wrenn. Wrenn is the Nightmare. Wrenn was so good for us in Game 1, and now it is so good here for the opponent in Game 2. I decided to play a Tarmogoyf to try to pressure the Wrenn. It's possible that playing the Mountain was bad, that we should have played another Shockland to give us the biggest variety of options here, but we are operational one way or the other. And we do get a bit punished, I guess, for not fetching, because opponent does have an Ashiok on curve. Not a card I care enormously about, but they do, between the Wrenn and the Ashiok, generate a lot of value and keep the graveyards nice and clean. So here, I don't think we have much choice but to get this Wrenn out of there. Liliana on curve has been our plan with the whole mulligan decision and the progressions in the very first turn of the game, but Liliana pretty poor in the face of an opposing Wrenn. So instead, I feel we've got no choice but to take care of the Wrenn. Wrenn getting them +3 lands, basically, overall. And then we pressure the Ashiok here, even though I'm not especially worried about it. It's still probably the right move. And Ashiok will activate yet again and clear out our graveyard. They've got a lot of gold cards that they've exiled, a lot of really powerful gas, and also a couple fetch targets. You've got to pay attention to what fetchables are left when the opponent is milling you. Of course, OP will have Uro, and then they play 2 Shocklands and they pass. And something about the way they sequenced here, I was just kind of sniffing around for a Force of Negation. So I decided, well, first we'll attack with a Goyf, that's a removal bait, or interaction of some other kind bait. That'll just work. Okay, fair enough. So then I decide, you know what? We're not really winning the value game. We still could on the back of Liliana, but again, number 1, I think we're behind on the value axis, and number 2, again, I sniff a Force of Negation. That is what I was thinking. So I said, let's try to time walk him a little bit, play the Goyf. And they could have anything here, of course, and it does happen to be a Monolith, so our Lily would have got countered anyway. Our Goyf is certainly countered, and that is that. Note that if we had taken that action main phase, we could have grown the Goyf, but didn't matter because we were attacking Ashiok that turn anyway. OP will put Monolith back on top with a Mystic Sanctuary, and then tapping here, tapping there. Are they not certain? Looks like they're not certain. So I wonder if they didn't mean, or they misplayed a little bit, putting that land back on top. Because it kind of looked like they wanted to escape Burrow, then chose not to. Alternatively, we're thinking, okay, if we give the OP credit, maybe for not having made that play, not having made that mistake, maybe they have permission. So if they have permission, what do we want to do? Well, we've drawn Nihil Spellbomb. Nihil Spellbomb is actually an answer to what they're putting us through right now in a pretty big way, with that Uro basically guaranteed to be escaped next turn. And again, just to finalize that thought, they also had another Scalding Tarn here, so seems like they could have gotten that card in the graveyard to me. Maybe they didn't want to fetch away the Monolith, I don't really know. In any case, just like last time, we're going to begin with the attack, even though we could grow the Goyf more easily if we, take actions first and they get countered, because we are just trying to move heaven and earth to resolve a Spellbomb. That's what we care about. So first, we bait with the Goyf attack, opponent does nothing. Next, we play a Liliana and tick up. Opponent still does nothing to counter it and does nothing in response to the +1. So I guess opponent doesn't have permission. Let's just go for the Nihil Spellbomb here. And that is going to be also resolving, hitting the battlefield, we will immediately spellbomb the OP for a very clean turn, one that I did not think possible. So I don't know if opponent just wanted to bluff permission there, or if they missed their own ability to get Uro out, or if I'm missing something, or what it's got to be. Celestial Purges definitely makes sense. Hitting us on the end step, hitting Liliana is a card that they were holding up, but ultimately, a lot of things are going our way, despite everything, despite the mulligan and despite OP's advantage off of Wrenn and Six. They've only got 2 cards in hand. We've got a decent board. 1 card, right? But it's a big card. And Goyf hits for 5. Nice. So we're following just the same play pattern. You know, we attack first to bait it out. And then this time, so resolving the Spellbomb last turn was priority number 1. This time, I don't care that much about the Spellbomb. I actually care more about resolving Brutality, because it can interact well with spells in their hand, but more importantly, it's lethal in conjunction with another Goyf hit. So I say, okay, if the Spellbomb gets countered, maybe we just Brutality for 2 to force them to have an answer to the creature or lose. Because Spellbomb resolves, I just say, all right, good enough for me. We'll be a little more patient with the Brutality. Maybe we can use it to escalate. Maybe we can force something through. We'll just see how it goes. We draw Inquisition of Kozilek. I also didn't feel pressured into cracking the Spellbomb on the end step, because we are relatively flush with mana. We lead on Inquisition, and we see Force of Negation in Monolith. So because we lead on the Inquisition, Monolith can beat the Brutality, and also Force of Negation can just straight up beat the Brutality. So we're not killing them this turn. We do take away the Force, and I guess we're not killing them unless we draw another discard spell, which is what I'm trying to do here with this Nihil Spellbomb activation. And we draw Bloodbraid Elf. Not quite going to do it. We shrink our Goyf just a tad. It was 6-7 for a brief moment in time. And then we draw another Inquisition. So OP's at 2. They better have something really special to stay alive here. And they found it. It's Cryptic Command, but Inquisition at least gets to hit that mana leak, which is actually really important. So obviously we'll attack first with the Goyf. OP will go ahead and Cryptic in the most optimal way, bouncing the Goyf to tempo us out and stay alive, and also drawing a card. Once again, for the millionth time this game, we are baiting with our first actions and our first spells of a phase. This time we are baiting with Tarmogoyf to try to bait a counter that they might have drawn off Cryptic. And when Goyf hits the field, we've got the all clear, baby. It's Collective Brutality time. They probably would need like a Force of Negation or a Spell Snare. I don't know, Spell Snare they probably would have used on Goyf, right? So maybe just Force is all we're afraid of. Either way, they don't have it. Collective Brutality, the coup de grace. Very nice. So this was still not that enjoyable of a game for me. The pile games are too long. They're too long for me. Having said that, it was really nice to 2-0 the piles, and we got there in a variety of ways. Game 2, we got there in a relatively unlikely way. A mulligan on the draw, a hand that, is forced into trophying a Wrenn and Six early. That's a very, very bad series of events. But, we got a little lucky here. Opponent didn't have enough of the top-decked gas after we found our Spellbomb at the perfect time to hit the Uro out of their yard in a value-positive way. The opponent might also have missed a trick with their sequencing, giving us the opportunity to do that. And then, a relatively unlikely source of pressure, just a single Tarmogoyf basically soloing the opponent from 20 down to 0. So there you go, my friends. We are 2-2 in the league. Sorry for having to intercede in my own league with this replay, but again, that was a connectivity thing. And now for round 5, I took a break. I got my stuff back operational, made sure my connection was okay, and we're back to live recorded content for the final round. And we're back at it. Let's go. It's always something every time in every time in the year of 2021, I should say. We'll keep that I try to record a league. We've got some kind of issue, but we're back after the double disconnect. We disconnect. The pile opponent disconnects, everybody's disconnecting. I don't know if it is something to do with MTGO having a bit of a blip, or if it was my typical connectivity issues or computer issues, or both, connectivity being poor in my area this time of year, and the opponent also happened to have some connectivity issues. Anyway, we are against Hammer Time. The opponent goes Memnite, Sigarda's Aid, pass. So we probably have to take away Colossus Hammer, but they're just going to go get another one off of SFM, and that's also a 2-for-1, but maybe that'll give us time to set it up. Yep. OP playing the silent clearing and then seemingly hesitating a bit over SFM, but eventually they do go for it. Just getting another hammer. Makes sense. Lightning bolt. Nice. Very nice. So we can bolt whoever they try to equip, I guess, and then next time it'll be Kolaghan's command. K-command been showing up a lot in this league. Sorry, I'm a little hesitant here. I'm just kind of like, I'm not back in the groove like I was. I have to get back in the groove is what I should say. Pure Steel Paladin. We're going to let them draw here, and we're going to value our life a little more highly, just because hopefully the one card won't beat us. After next turn, we get to K-command, shock the Paladin. And get the hammer as well. Some pretty nice stuff. Opponent playing more or less completely off the top, but with a few setup cards, and they've got another Paladin. That's real bad. They also have Lurrus waiting in the wings, silent clearing, so a lot of flood insurance, but another Paladin, so that's definitely rough. Wrenn and Six. Not quite. Not quite what we want to see. Guess we're kind of priced into the Lily Edict here. It's not perfect. Obviously, a 1-mana kill spell. Now that would have been perfect, right? So let's hope that Pure Steel doesn't go nuts on us here. They begin by cracking, clearing. That's a good sign. Again, they have grinding potential for days, but we want them to just not go too crazy at this exact moment. Paladin taking care of Lily. Yep. Maybe Lurrus just goes into hand now. Indeed. Fix our mana a bit with good old Stomping Ground, and we draw Wooded Foothills, huh? So if we want to... Yeah, I mean, Wrenn and Six has a fair amount of use cases, actually, but I think the play here is probably empty our hand, turn the Wrenn into a token, play the Goyf as well, draw 2 fresh ones. Seems fine. Does leave us tapped out, but we're not doing much otherwise. Lightning Bolt and another Goyf. Okay, Bolt definitely plays. Gotta stop the Lurrus from snowballing. It's bad enough that it's going to be a 2 for 0, 3 for 1, no matter how you look at it, as a floor. But at least we can answer it. And then maybe the pressure of these Goyfs will be sufficient. Opponent, of course, can also buy back Colossus Hammer rather than another value piece like Stoneforge Mystic or a second Paladin. All depends on what else is in their hand, I suppose. We do have Collector Ouphe in the sideboard. Card's going to see a lot of love today. I think the matchup here is fine, but basically every small creature deck now can play Lurrus, at least ones that you're likely to see on a regular basis. And therefore it can be a little tough to say, yeah, Jund lines up great. Like, it's lines up well, but so many just grindy cards that are kind of by-the-by grindy. The draw of a Stoneforge Mystic is rough. That's definitely better than playing Lurrus, I would say, because they're just continuing to grind and grow the board at the same time. They don't really have to choose. 13-13 Lifelink Trample. Yeah, that's going to flip the script on... whatever, I'm going to go to 1, I guess. On our thoughts about pressuring the opponent. Lily of the Veil. All right. We have a chance, maybe, kind of. Bolt, Edict, still obviously in a lot of trouble against Lurrus. Putting up a respectable showing here. But, you know, our deck lining up pretty well. Opponent's progression's been pretty good. As is so often the case, the free 8th card that generates more card advantage is likely to be the Mirror Breaker, or the Difference Maker, if that's indeed how things end up going. All right. Opponent spreading the level around with the free equips and a Sigarda's Aid out of hand. All right. Blood Crypt not going to do it. No reason not to play it, I guess. But we're going to have to make some some very bad blocks here. Opponent's going to put everything onto one thread, I suppose. There's the Colossus Hammer, number 2 from the graveyard. I guess we can pretty much just concede to this, right? Right. Okay. As so often the case, as I say, we are beaten by the companion. A tough progression from the opponent, requiring some good answers from us. We did have those, but the companion just breaks it all. Breaks the symmetry. Plague Man and Ouphe are, I think I want all copies of both. Definitely Ouphe. I suppose Collective Brutality is good enough as well. So we're looking to leverage these 5 cards. We could have a Lily called into question a little bit, a Wrenn and Six called into question a little bit. Maybe just trimming around the edges is what makes the most sense here. And I think we'll probably have to, because we don't really have bad cards, which is a good thing. So I'm going to start there. I'll probably trim a single Thoughtseize too. Just one. But, again, the edge trimming. The edge trimming is what we are, I think, most incentivized to do. And then do we maybe cut a single Spyro? I think we're supposed to leave all our Goyfs in. We gotta erase them. They grind and top deck very well. Yeah, sure. I do like Plague Engineer because it is the potential for a 2 for 1, especially against creature lands, and also just like a Death Touch blocker along the ground against Colossus Hammer is pretty good. This is a very fine keep. This is a very fine keep. Alright, OP with a very fine hand of their own. 2 lands, 2 Stoneforge Mystics, Pure Steel Paladin, Ornithopter, Colossus Hammer. Okay. I think I'm going to take the SFM. We're going to start trying to fight the 2-for-1 battle. Okay, opponent doesn't save any of their artifacts for the Pure Steel Paladin value on curve, which makes me want to, instead of holding up Abrupt Decay, play a Wrenn and Six here. I guess I'm going to. We could still get punished for this, but I think on average this is the correct play. Unfortunate that it was an Ornithopter and not a Memnite, because I'd love to ping something right now. OP might just go Stoneforge, indeed they do. Getting another hammer. We got a trophy, okay. Which fetch land do they know about? It's not a huge deal. It's the Verdant Catacombs. Yeah, might as well just continue concealing info. A minor consideration, but you get it. Now we're just holding up Decay or Trophy, but Decay is the one we'll use. There's the Paladin, and we'll Decay in response. Gotta deny them the value. Opponent ignoring the Wrenn attacking us. Spyro. Alright. I think we're supposed to do something proactive here. AKA not just pass holding Trophy. Spyro pitching a couple lands is very reasonable. Bloodbraid Elf is obviously great too. Mega Judgment Call here. Opponent has a Plains in hand still, I believe. Think I'm going to go for the Spyro. Just because we're so flooded. We don't get rewarded actively, right? No, 1 mana interactive spell. It's unfortunate. We do get another Bloodbraid Elf in hand. We do churn through the deck pretty well. Giver of Runes. That's a problem. Steel Shaper's Gift. That's a problem. Lots of problems. Lots and lots of problems. An annoying amount of X2s over there. Wren's still putting in some decent work. He goes to get a Shadow Spear. Maybe I forgot to X out of a Plains here. We'll assume they don't have it because they didn't play any. Lightning Bolt. That's cool. Alright, I'm going to kick it off with a Bloodbraid Elf. We do have some incentive to just ping something with Wrenn first, in case we cascade into exactly our second Wrenn, but that's pretty likely. Unlikely, rather. Hope I didn't just meme it into existence. We also have some incentive to hold up trophy, right? But let's go for a Bloodbraid here into Liliana. We like that well enough. Did we just screw ourselves over a little bit? Not if they don't have... I mean, we're dead to some things, right? But... okay. I think we have to play for the high upside line here. We're racing. Hopefully we've presented them with just a few too many things, but we're dead to a lot of top decks, right? It's not a top deck, it's Lurrus in hand. OP playing a more defensive game. And we've got now the ability to just retrace like champions. So I suppose that is the thing to do. There is a Fatal Push in OP's hand. Interesting and good to know. Alright, might as well not give Lurrus a chance to hit the field. Does it really matter? Yeah, it could if they draw a bauble, right? We're still holding up a decay and a trophy this way. It should be sufficient to get us there. We can also retrace lightning bolts to cheese out the game. Very nice, clearing out the whole board. Renblem OP and Bloodbraid Elf will be the finisher. We draw a land as well. We'll finish them stylishly with a lightning bolt off of the retrace. We also conceal a little bit of information that way. Bloodbraid Elf could cascade into like a Collector Ouphe or something they don't know about. So, there we go. Yeah, as you might tell, I'm not super familiar with... I haven't played against this deck so much. I had a brain fart moment where I was like, wait, did we leave ourselves dead to something on board? No, we didn't. It was just to something... that's a potential top deck, but in a lot of situations you will just kind of want to go in that direction anyway, need to be more proactive. Thinking about cutting a second Wrenn on the draw. They didn't show us much to ping, and maybe just bring back a Thoughtseize on the draw is a little bit safer. I think I'm going to do that, otherwise it looks like we're pretty much where we want to be. Ashiok is actually interesting. I didn't cover this before. It does shut down a good amount of their search effects, but probably on the play was the chance to play one. Maybe we should still be playing one. What if we play an Ashiok instead of a Thoughtseize, or instead of like another Spyro? I'm just wary of being too slow, basically. But I'll try an Ashiok, whatever, why not? This is a league that's very close to 500, whether we win or lose this final game. So, we'll play that just to say that we did. Oof, jeez. A 5-lander? I love the Inquisition. I don't mind the Bloodbraid Elf. I think if the opponent mauls, I'll keep it. They don't maul. We're probably supposed to mulligan this. Yeah, just 5 lands is too many, right? Okay, how about this 1-lander, but it's got 3 1-mana removal spells. I'm going to keep it. We're going to bottom the Ashiok, and we are going to hope for our lands. And then it's actually a pretty great 6. OP with a Thoughtseize. Ugh, that's annoying. After we mulligan. So, Thoughtseizes and Fatal Pushes in post side. They take our Thoughtseize. Makes sense. And they'll play out an Ornithopter. Alright, first crack at a land is no good. It's a strong card, though, Abrupt Decay. There's a giver. And we're pretty much priced into taking care of that card. Partially because it's a must answer, partially because we don't want to time walk ourselves. Come on, second land. We did it, but it doesn't make green. We'll still take it, though. So we're just holding up our Fatal Push. Still really need another land, but if we get it, and if it's green, we can do everything that our hand allows. Another giver. Another must answer, as far as I would be concerned. And another whiff on a green land, but we have another castable. It's a lightning bolt. This obviously plays just directly into the hands of the Lurrus player, but what are you going to do? Okay, opponent has taxed our removal to the best of their ability to try to stick a Pure Steel Paladin. Thankfully, we've got the bolt. Just gun things. Alright, third land any day now. Nope, but it's another lightning bolt. Okay, I accept. So the something that would be bad for us is if they put Lurrus into hand. Alright, they will. They also have a giver. Okay, we gotta answer the giver again. Again, must answer, and we don't want to time walk ourselves. Give us a discard spell or any untapped land, especially a green one. Snow-covered mountain. Okay. We'll take it. I think I'm just going to K-command away the Lurrus and the Colossus Hammer right now. OP will be playing entirely off the top. Boom, 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 boom. A little Rakdos Jund action for you. All right. OP with a brick. Nice. Us with an Overgrown Tomb. Nice. Core. Human. Thopter. I don't know if I should just run out the Plague Man quite yet or not. Is Memnite a construct? That's, I guess, what I should probably look up. I'm pretty sure it is, but let's just... Or is it? Is it? No, it is a construct. Okay. Sure, we'll do something proactive. I could spend more time like looking at lists and seeing exactly what the right thing to name is, but we know this hoses Memnite. I think that's good enough. We want to start clocking. We want to start... You're going to keep using our mana every turn as best as we can. Ooh, OP main phasing the Bauble could punish them if we draw a discard, right? And we do. All right, let's hope we get rewarded. With a Pure Steel Paladin, nice. We, granted, had the decay for it, but that's just one less thing we have to point the decay at, right? A little bit of a sequencing error from OP, and that's no shade intended. I certainly make a few every time I play Jund, basically. It's kind of inevitable. Maybe not for everybody, but... When I'm commentating and when I'm playing Jund and when I'm a little rusty, because I only play one league a week at the most these days, that will happen. So, again, no shade for OP. Just pointing it out for your edification at home. Can Plague Man solo the opponent? That would be a little unusual, but stranger things have indeed happened. Shoot, I meant to turn off auto yields. We'll be punished if we draw Bloodbraid Elf, and we do. Dang. Okay. Yep, just a little slow on the click. I was going to literally decay the Paladin on the unstep in case we drew exactly Bloodbraid Elf, or admittedly other things, but Bloodbraid was what was in my mind. Alright, let's attack. We're just going to offer the trade. And now at this point, we might as well hold up decay, right? Stoneforge Mystic. That's frustrating. I hope that inability to click in time doesn't lose us the game. I think OP obviously knew we had removal here. Shadow Spear definitely helping them to swing the race a bit, though. Interestingly, if we had named Thopter, this would still not be lifelinking or clocking. Lily of the Veil. It's not bad. I think Bloodbraid Elf's a little better on average, but it's not bad. We shouldn't have any whiffs besides discard off of Bloodbraid, and that's the opposite of a whiff. Kolaghan's Command, into the concession, let's go. Junding out, for sure. That was definitely a decent note on which to finish. Yep. Could have been a little more comfortable, maybe, if I had, again, hit the turn off auto yields button in time, but still had more than enough juice to bury Hammer Time. Cash the league. All right, we'll take it. Alright, guys, so there you go. We ended up with a cached league, and we also ended up with plenty of Valki action. We got wrecked by the opposing Valki deck that is a more all-in version that seems completely unwinnable for a traditional mid-range deck unless they're just mulling to Oblivion and you have interaction into a clock. That's how you can beat any deck, but it is a proverbial 2080 matchup as far as I would assume by hearing the construction of the deck and glancing over a couple lists as I have, and also from playing it firsthand for the first time. That was our round 2 opponent. Shout out to you. Big shout out to our channel viewer, I'm here to serve. If we must lose matches, it might as well be to the lovely viewership of this channel. So that is what it is. The Mill one, that was just Mill just kind of scraping by. And like I said, I have an uncanny knack of just barely getting over the line every time until right now against Mill, but it is often very close. This time, those close calls, they broke against us, right? They went in favor of the opponent. Opponent just drawing pretty well, having really solid Mill progressions, us not having the ruthlessness to keep it down. We just had kind of like decent stuff going on. Missing out on Kroxa, I think, if Mill's in the meta. It's a relatively minor consideration, right? And you can always sideboard a card for Mill instead if you really don't like Kroxa, but Kroxa gives you such value and breaks the symmetry so hard in so many matches that Mill was the standout example of this league, but in general, I think that is true of Kroxa. But on to the wins. Well, we did take the pile down. That felt great. That's a moral victory. We didn't even cheese them out. We didn't cascade into Tibalt Cosmic Imposter. We didn't boil them out. Nope, we ground them out with a Wrenn and Six emblem, and then we eventually hardcast Tibalt after buying back looping Valki a ton of times with repeated Kolaghan's commands and all the rest. It was definitely the type of match I kind of hate to play, especially while narrating. It's just... it's cool in a way. Like, it's cool because there are more and more decisions, right? I like that. I don't like how long they are, and I don't necessarily like how swingy it is. I just prefer, as you guys probably know, super impactful decisions in quick games, where every decision matters, one false move can win or lose you the game, but the games are over relatively quickly. That is my preference these days. So I always dread the piles. Even if we beat them, it's still a slog, but hey, we beat them, I'll take it. Not mad about that in the least. We also beat a very bad matchup in the form of Eldrazi Tron. We did Cascade, if I'm remembering correctly, into Tibalt for that one. That was pretty cool. Eldrazi Tron is probably the matchup where I could have taken the most different lines that would have paid off. A couple times I neglected to just blindly fire off a K command for the last card in their hand and got punished. Oftentimes I will fire off that K command, right? It's a great matchup to do so, just to kind of defend my own plays there. They were like on 5 lands and saying go, stuff like that. They will often, in those cases, and we had Collector Ouphe out too, right, in some of those instances, so maybe there's a card that's completely dead in hand because of Ouphe, or they're just holding a land that doesn't do much for them to protect exactly from that type of effect, the non-targeted discard effect. So I hope you understand why I did it. That said, they're still always against E-Tron incentive to just get that last card out of their hand, whatever it was. We got punished for it. The opponent found another Eldrazi Temple into Kozilek Butcher of Truth, which is totally insane. I don't know which one was in hand and which one was on the top, but they needed both together to do anything. And then they managed to draw 5, including the Sanctum of Ugin. But we won through that, thanks to a really good Junding out otherwise, and thanks to that Cascade into Tibalt. Kolaghan's command showed up a ton this league. Vladislav Urenka, this was your league, my friend, and your list looked awesome. The K command, we were really rewarded for that. We were really rewarded for the Collector Ouphe too, and frankly, overall, the deck looked good. We had a lot of removal when we needed it. We had a decent amount of pressure when we needed it, although that ended up not quite serving us as well as it could. We were close to getting over the line, maybe game 1 against the Cascade pile, maybe both games against Mill. A little more pressure might have been able to seal the deal, maybe like a Dark Confidant or a Kroxa is something that could have flipped the script there, but our pressure was okay, our interaction was fabulous, our grinding power was really good. Your list is really well designed, my friend. I'm afraid it more or less seems to auto-lose to our round 2 opponent, but I think any mid-range deck would, unless we are almost, if not fully, as all-in on Valki as our OP was. I'm a little all over the place here. What match haven't we talked about? Oh, the final one, I guess, Hammer Time. Yeah, we just had a pile of removal. We stumbled at a couple different crucial points. Opponent did put together some really good stuff. G1, the grinding power of the deck is evident. So many X for ones, and we did drop game one, which is a game that you like to win, right? In those types of matchups where they can kill you really, really quickly, and in a wide variety of ways, and also grind. Like, it's just not enough to say we get better post side. We're pretty favored to take him down both post side. That's not really how I see the matchup. We did happen to do it this time, though. So, again, Vladislav, my friend, your list is looking awesome. So many cards shown so significantly. The wildfires were amazing against Eldrazi Tron. I maybe could have played Ashiok even a little bit more than I did here, but Ashiok did some work. Even Plague Man was involved there, despite not having clear-cut 2-for-1 or X-for-1 potential. The Bloodbraids were amazing, whether or not they were cascading into Tibalt. And Valki himself, pretty darn good. Showed up nicely in every different way at some point in this league. We had him being played on curve a couple times in round one. That was sweet. And Valki could have turned into a reality smasher to finish off the opponent in the final E-Tron game. As it so happened, we had then later had a Tibalt active as well who would exile the smasher, so we did it that way, but you could do it either way. Valki was pretty good there, definitely has utility in other matchups in that exact role. We also managed to blindly cascade into Tibalt once, which is probably right for a deck that doesn't set it up at all and plays 3 copies plus 4 Bloodbraid Elf over the course of a league, and in any kind of a close game, you're just going to win when that happens, so that's cool. And we also managed to hardcast Tibalt once in a long grind. Again, these are all the different ways you can use the card, so I'm so thrilled that we got to showcase all of them here. My first time ever playing Valki Jund, my first league, and I don't know how many leagues I'm going to really be playing this season. I'm really a lot more excited about Grim gameplay, but the leagues are a different crucible, and this was certainly that, right? And so I'm happy with how it went, even though it was only a 3-2. I think on another day, we win most of those mill matchups. They out-top decked us pretty radically. And then round 2 was an auto loss. What are you going to do? Beyond that, I think this is a sweet build, my friend. Thank you once again to Of the Veil tier Patreon supporter, Vladislav Jurenka. Appreciate you, my friend. I don't have much else to say. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on Jund in general, on the meta in general. I still have not run into Tibalt's trickery, and I've played 3 Grim gameplays and a league now, plus messing around with other things in the lobby just here and there, quick before bed. Still haven't run into trickery. That deck seems to be seeing more play than it deserves, frankly, to me. To the extent that it will stay in the meta, I suspect it will be on the strength of its ability to adopt other strategies alongside that Tibalt's Trickery Emrakul combo, whether it be a total transformational sideboard plan like some people have been doing with Amulet Titan or what. I'm not exactly certain, but, a deck like Jund can police that fairly well. Not as well as a blue deck can, but pretty well. So, those are my thoughts on things overall, and those are my thoughts on the list in the league you just saw. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all Patreon supporters. I am going to be doing a mix of Grim gameplay going forward that have been requested by my Patreon supporters, and just stuff I want to do. People have a Grim Flayer rock list, a cat rock list that they want me to test with 3 or 4 Grim Flayer. I myself want, and I've got lots of other requests too of wide-ranging things. I myself kind of want to take like Mono Red Prison for a spin. I think that could be fun. I also have the idea to play like a Liliana tribal deck for fun. I don't know if that should be Rakdos or Golgari or maybe Mono Black. Whatever it is, I want to include Terragrid God of Fright in there as the top end. I think that could be fun. So stay tuned for all this type of content, guys. Plus, when the time comes, more spoiler coverage, more analysis of the meta, ban list stuff, if and when that happens, can all be found right here. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.